Welcome back to the Tech Talks Daily podcast. It's been a crazy couple of weeks, if I'm honest with you. I've just had a notification that John Cena is following me on Twitter at the moment. I'm not sure if he listens to the podcast or not. John, if you do listen, please send me a message. I'd love to know how you found us. But today we're going to be exploring the world of retail tech. And Neil McGregor, COO at the REPL Group, which is a part of Accenture, he's amassed over 15 years of consulting experience, particularly focused on global retail systems integration. So I want to take a look under the hood at the world of retail tech. But before we start today's interview, I just wanted to give a quick mention to our sponsors, because this month the podcast is brought to you by Flipper, which is the #1 marketplace to buy and sell online businesses and startups. So do you run your own online business? And have you ever considered selling your website, your store, your tech, or your app? Because with world-class combined matching technology, dedicated brokers and end-to-end services, all at the most efficient price, Flipper is making it simple to sell your online business. So to get a free valuation, visit my friends at flipper.com/techtalks, where each month thousands of online business owners exit with Flipper. Again, visit flipper.com/techtalks. So buckle up and hold on tight as I beam your ears all the way to the UK, where you can join two Neils having a discussion about retail tech. So a massive warm welcome to the show, Neil. Can you tell the listeners a little about who you are and what you do?
Of course, and thank you for having me. So I'm Neil McGregor. I'm the Chief Operating Officer of a company called REPL, who are now part of Accenture. And I essentially lead the global teams. I do a lot of our client delivery assurance and then run all of our operations and make sure we're a profitable and a successful business focused on our people.
And there's a lot to unpack there. So I want to take you back before Accenture and maybe even before your career. I mean, can you remember where your passion for tech came from, or something that ignited a spark in you or put you on the path you're on today? Or ultimately, what's your origin story? Because everyone's got one, right?
They do. And I've told my team this many times and they don't believe me, the whole thing. But actually, if I go really to the start, I went to Warwick University. I was very fortunate to go there. And I remember at the time, a lot of people thinking about their careers, and a lot of people had a real, idea of what they wanted to do. I was the complete opposite, if I'm honest. I got the long list of careers out and ended up crossing out 95% of the list. And there was this thing called consultancy that was left, and thought it sounded interesting, predominantly because it was constantly changing, challenging in lots of different experiences. And then was lucky enough to kind of go through the recruitment and actually get a job with Accenture. And when I got in there, that's where my passion for tech came. So it was initially kind of more of the variety and the challenge of the career. And then as I came to realize what an impact technology could have on organizations and people, it really got me passionate and motivated.
And that path would lead you to REPL Group, which, for anyone listening and hearing about you guys for the first time, can you expand on the kind of issues that the group solves for your customers?
So we are what I call a retail-focused technology consultancy. So we try and sit in that balance of understanding and having a huge passion of technology, but really being focused on the outcome within retail. So the types of things we focus on, we talk about our 3 retail verticals. We talk about supply chains, workforce, and in-store technology. So what we really home in on is trying to optimize technology solutions and digital change from an end-to-end supply chain perspective, using automation and robotics in warehouses, an example, to then trying to help retail organizations optimize their use of people and driving fantastic staff experience within their companies, all the way through to then customer experience and mobile applications and digital technology to run stores, and ultimately integrating all of that from a technology perspective and really helping big retailers around the world run their organizations as efficiently and effectively as possible.
Love that. And as this is a tech podcast, and we are at that time of the year where every self-proclaimed futurist and technologist is predicting what we're going to be experiencing in 2023, I'd love to explore the world of retail technology with you today. So the big question is, what are the big trends in retail tech right now?
I would probably talk about 3 different areas, if you don't mind. I think sustainability is the one that I'm incredibly excited about, but I'll probably talk about it last. I think the thing that has really had an impact in the last couple of years, and I think will be even bigger in 2023, is the use of digital twins and simulations. Now, what I mean by that is that's being able to try different scenarios and predict things that will happen without having to make any immediate changes now, by having a digital twin that you can tweak, you can test, and you can optimize. I think a great example of this is in a warehouse. If you have a mega warehouse, you can create a digital twin and really, I guess, kind of try and experiment with customized floor plans and workflows to try and actually try different strategies and optimize the flow and movement of stock through the warehouse to try and make it as efficient as possible without having any impact on the day-to-day operations. And being able to do that for me using technology is really exciting. I think if I take that on somewhere slightly differently, everyone is talking about augmented reality and how it's going to have an impact and working in the metaverse. I think what we'll start seeing is a lot more practical applications of this in 2023. Again, if I use the warehouse example, you'll start being able to train all of your warehouse operators in a controlled digital environment. You'll be able to kind of scale up that training. The way warehouses are growing, particularly in the UK and around Europe, it's been phenomenal. And being able to scale those warehouses and the operations a lot more quicker using augmented reality is really exciting. And actually being able to mock up lots of different situations where you can train quicker, you can run through scenarios quicker, I think will become quite normal in 2023. Whereas if you look at a couple of years ago, it would have been this whole theoretical virtual reality worlds that you wouldn't have been able to put your finger on what it was. And I think that's really exciting. And I think the last bit is the whole sustainability piece, and lots of organizations committing to sustainability being key on the agenda. We've had a lot of words in the last couple of years, but actually the way technology is now being applied and implemented and using green cloud methodologies and key decisions being made on the impact on the environment of the technology being implemented, I think is really going to become a key thing, and it's going to be quite exciting to see how it plays out in the coming years.
And I suspect you're having many conversations with some pretty high-profile clients right now as well. And I'm curious, are there any trends in the kind of big challenges that they're coming and asking you for help with at the moment? So, what are the biggest challenges out there?
I mean, I don't mean to laugh when I say this, but I genuinely think the world in itself is quite a big challenge at the moment. If we look at just everything that's happened, in the last few years, and I've got two young kids of mine. I've got a 3-year-old and a 6-year-old, and we try to talk to them about what's happening in the world. But it generally feels like, this generation has lived through some of the most, substantive, fundamental changes. But actually just reading the news, there seems to be a systemic change and something, quite real and quite shocking happening on almost a weekly basis at the moment. So, playing that through, we've seen the craziness in consumer prices skyrocketing. We've seen the awful war going on that is having, huge consequences on food prices and the global markets and stability in itself. What it's doing is driving a lot of change. And if you couple that with then how people are just trying to live their lives these days, I think maybe one of the biggest challenges is unpredictability itself, right? And if you talk about the customer experience and how, consumers are behaving, there's been a big focus in the last, 10, 15 years of retailers trying to understand their customers and building offerings around that. I think a lot of that is going to start being unpicked. And actually, we're going to have to get comfortable in the uncomfortable and constantly changing situation. So trying to be less predictive and less focused and build organizations using technology that are a lot more reactive and helping consumers understand what's going on. And they'll always be contradicting themselves these days. So actually, I think, just being able to keep those relationships and try and build that support for our customers, knowing that the world's a difficult place and we all want to do the right thing, I really think is going to be a huge challenge, and it's going to constantly change every month across the next few years.
And I think the world is also waking up to every business needs to be as diverse as their audience, because if their workforce isn't diverse, how are they going to authentically serve that audience of diverse voices from all around the world? And we are slowly moving away from that loudest voice in the meeting room calling all the shots. But I'm curious, what are you guys doing to drive diversity, inclusion, and the kind of initiatives that you're running at REPL to kind of lead the way with this as well? Because, it's such a big topic and so important, isn't it?
It really is. And I think you've hit the nail on the head there in terms of people are waking up to this. D&I has been something that is incredibly important to all of us here at REPL and something we're passionate about. We've tried to make it just part of who we are for a long time. So we have a lot of constant conversations at leadership where we're challenging each other. We have a very, I guess, open voice here in our company, in that, we encourage everyone to challenge each other and speak to each other. And particularly at the leadership level, we are constantly trying to have these types of conversations so we can learn as well, right? I'm not going to sit here and profess to be an expert, but actually what we're trying to do is educate each other and have those voices at all levels within our organization to make sure that we are challenging ourselves and driving change and trying to do the right thing. So we have that sort of openness. I think, like most organizations, there's a lot more focused recruitment targets to try and drive a much better diversity these days. We are trying to ensure that we're giving everyone the right opportunities to be able to step up, learn and develop and be the future leaders of our organization. And then actually we have a lot of what we call our network groups that are empowered within our organization to really be a voice and drive change. But we talk about it a lot, and we talk about it being a key part of our job. So our EY network and our CSR group and our Pride network are constantly presenting and talking to us and educating us and challenging us. But we as leaders talk about it all the time of being important of who our business are. So really for us, it's part of our culture and part of our way of working. And then we're setting more aggressive targets to try and keep getting better and learning and iterating over time.
And on this podcast, I always say technology works best when it brings people together. And one of the things that excites me is how tech can complement teams and help them drive forward rather than competing against them. But of course, to get there, we're going to need a different corporate culture, need to transform that culture within an organization and get rid of that thought of, but hey, we've always done it this way. And although tech is a big part of what you do, how important is leadership and culture at the REPL Group there? And do you think that culture side of things is often underestimated?
It's everything to us, is how I would describe it. What we've tried to build is a consultative organization that puts people at its heart and makes the right decisions. We talk about that being key to us and our culture being everything. Our culture is our people. So we try and be open, we try and be transparent, we're very challenging, we try and empower everyone. And actually what we try and build is this organization where everyone can be their authentic selves at work and everyone can be in a safe space, talking to each other, challenging each other and living and breathing, our core set of values. I don't say it lightly in saying it's everything to us. It's particularly key in terms of allowing our people to thrive and respecting each other and developing together. We always try and be open and support each other, and that really matters. And I guess one of the things is having a career and growing up in quite a corporate environment, we've really tried to break down the notion of levels and seniority, because to me it doesn't matter at the end of the day. We're all individuals and everyone's opinion matters, and that's something we've tried to bring through our culture. Going through our integration into Accenture in the last couple of years, it's been challenging, but it's been fantastic as well. We've come from an organization of 500, 600, 700 people as we've grown to now learning from an organization of 700,000 and seeing that they have the same core values and can teach us bits and we can teach them bits has really allowed our culture to stay true to who we are, but in some ways grow and thrive and iterate and become even more important to who we are.
Absolutely love that. And of course, we're now at the time of the podcast where I'm going to ask you to look into your virtual crystal ball. 2023 is next month. So do you want to make any predictions around retail tech? Is there anything you want to put your name against out there?
I think one prediction is organizations now really understand the value of technology and digital transformation. And if we talk about, the concerns that the market's going into recession, I think I remember the 2008 one vividly, and it seemed as though all spend stopped. I guess one of my predictions is that spend won't stop. And I think organizations now appreciate that they need to spend and invest to stay ahead and adapt and thrive. It's probably a bit of a grey answer for you, Neil, but I genuinely do think actually there will continue to be innovation, constant change with everything else that's going on. I think there'll be lots of tech disruptions that will spin up in the retail world that will drive fantastic customer experience and continue change. But actually, I think organizations have become a lot more adaptive and reactive, which will allow them to thrive and grow as we continue. So, we talk a lot about, a while ago, it used to take maybe 10 years to drive a big change. And now you can do that kind of change in 3 to 6 months. I think we'll see a lot more of that in the coming years.
And what about yourselves? Is there anything you can share about what you're going to be focusing on next year? I appreciate you probably can't share too much, but are there any teasers that you can share?
Being honest, we're going to be going through kind of the next iteration of our integration and growth journey with Accenture. So the answer again is an easy one for me. And actually, our full focus is going to be on our people and our development. And we've talked a bit about D&I. I think the shift change we'll be going through is a continued development of the team and an enablement of them to be able to take on new opportunities, bigger opportunities in a safe space with our support. So really, we want to drive a lot more change. We want to be a lot more sustainable. We want, much better D&I statistics. And actually, we want to keep our organization focused on our people, but we want a lot more bigger voices leading and driving change, as opposed to kind of historically maybe a few of us doing it. Actually, we've now got a fantastic team doing lots of different bits. So our focus is going to stay on our people, but actually allowing a lot more people to step up and thrive and drive change themselves, because to me, that's true success.
100% with you there. And now we've come full circle almost now. We started the podcast talking about your origin story, what put you on this path, but I'm now going to ask you what the soundtrack to that origin story was. Is that a song that means something to you, inspired you, or just helps you get your head in the zone that we can add to our Spotify playlist? All I ask is, what are you going to leave us with and why?
No, I enjoyed kind of teeing this up at the start. I have to say, I love my music and I have a very, very taste. The song I've gone for, and my friends that got me into this music will be giving a wry smile. But when I was a lot younger, I think I was like Edward Ice, enjoyed kind of the popular music, and I had a bunch of friends that I thought, were a bit, had interesting music taste at the time. And as I've got older, I've loved it. So I'm going to go for Baba O'Reilly by The Who for a couple of reasons. One, the intro to that song still gives me the chills, and I turn it up full volume at home. I love listening to how it builds up and crescendos, and it will always get me excited. I love it. The other reason I'm choosing that is it really reminds me of, I guess, that part of my life where completely free, but actually growing up and appreciating life a lot more. I got into it, and then I've seen them live about 15-20 times now over the years, but I will forever remember seeing them in a big open field. It hit, and it was just such a rush and sense, that feeling that the music flows through your body, and it was a real experience. And then that was the song that got me exploring a lot more different types of music, and really it's then allowed me to listen to lots of different genres and get into it. But it's the band I've seen the most. It's the song that I will always listen to, and it brings back lots of good memories, but I still love just listening to it full volume and enjoying myself, if I'm honest.
Oh man! And as you were talking there, I could imagine myself doing the Pete Townsend windmill.
You know what? If you can see me now, I know we don't have the video on, but my arm was in the air swinging down, because that's exactly what I used to do. I used to love it.
Well, one of us can do the windmill, the other can shake that microphone in the air like Daltrey. But great choice.
Count me in.
I will get that added to our Spotify playlist. But before I let you go, for anyone listening, just wanting to find out more information about retail tech, the topics we explored today, the work you're doing at REPL Group, what's the best starting point for everything?
Easiest point is the website, replgroup.com, to have a look. There's lots of links to our joined up stuff with Accenture. For me personally, I'm most active on LinkedIn, and I'm just Neil McGregor, REPL Group, part of Accenture, and you can find me easily there.
Awesome. Well, I'll get all those links added to the show notes. We get the song added to Spotify. But I can't thank you enough for coming on here, talking about your background, how you got where you are today. And also, as well as talking about retail tech trends, also talking about the important roles of leadership, culture, driving diversity, inclusion initiatives, etc. So just a big thank you for sharing that with me today and leaving us with a killer tune too.
Thanks, is all mine. I really appreciate you having me.
Now, I've got to admit, I had to stop myself from singing the line, "Sally, take my hand." Joining that absolutely great track to add to the Spotify playlist. But a big thank you to Neil for coming on here, talking about his background, how he got where he is today, and also looking forward, transforming leadership and culture styles at the REPL Group, which, as he said, is a part of Accenture now, and bringing diversity and inclusion initiatives into the group. And of course, it is a tech podcast. So talking about retail technology, trends, predictions, challenges, and some of the things that we should be looking out for next year. And if retail tech is a subject close to your heart, I want to hear what your predictions are for 2023. Let's keep this conversation going. So I've got another guest lined up for you all tomorrow. Keep your questions coming in as always. And until next time, don't be a stranger.